Sponsored by Taylor Freelance, Rainier Ballistics, Hodgson Powders, and JPL Precision.
Hey Firefight fans, I'm Rick. We're back with another exciting episode. As you well know by now, there are some new IDPA rules. A new rule book was out recently. Here we are in the tail end of February of 2015, and the new rule book actually is going to take effect tomorrow. And so I just thought I'd start throwing out some episodes, hopefully not randomly, about some of the changes in the rule book. And one of the major changes, one of the things that's different for the sport, one of the first really big changes in years and years, is the change in the divisions of the sport. We started out with stock service pistol, enhanced service pistol, custom defensive pistol, and then I believe it was originally stock service revolver. And those were the first 4 divisions. And the sport had just those 4 divisions for many years. And then there was a split in the 2 revolver divisions, creating the minor power factor speed loader loaded stock service revolver and the major power factor moon clip loaded enhanced service revolver. And that was essentially the difference in the equipment. That's how it played out, regardless of how the rules were written. You had you guys shooting 38 specials and loading with speed loaders, and guys shooting 45 auto and loading with moon clips. And so we had 5 divisions. Well, there's been, at a major match, you'd see that, or at a club match, you'd see that. Then there was an additional division called backup gun, or BUG. Now, the BUG division rules initially were very minimal. It was just, this is the longest barrel length you can have if you're shooting a revolver. That is the longest barrel length you can have if you're shooting an auto pistol. There's a minimum caliber of 38 special for the revolver, minimum caliber of 380 for the auto pistol. But any gun that had a short enough barrel into which you loaded only 5 rounds was essentially BUG legal. So I think we joked about it when we talked many episodes back about BUG, that if you had a 500 Smith & Wesson X-frame revolver, I think they had a special anti-bear kit that came with a 2-inch X-frame 500 Smith & Wesson, that gun was BUG legal because there was no weight dimension, anything. It was just caliber and barrel length. And because it was a 5-round division, regardless of the capacity, the rules kind of revolved around upon the J-frame 5-shot revolver. You couldn't really, it wasn't really practical to ever shoot a BUG at a typical IDPA match where everything was kind of geared for a minimum of 6-shot capacity. The old rule books had Revolver Neutrality that was based on the assumption that revolvers were loaded with 6. They needed a place to reload at cover every 6 rounds. And so BUG was always used only in side stages or in matches that were set up specifically for the BUG, where you could accommodate the 5-round capacity, no reloads, and the other limitations of that division. Well, here comes the new rule book, which again takes effect tomorrow. And we have some revisions. One, we have a return to a single revolver division. Instead of having essentially 4 auto pistol divisions for 99% of the shooters and 2 revolver divisions for the other 1%, what we're going to have now is 1 revolver division split sort of into 2 categories, which is the first time this has been done in an IDPA division. It's very common in USPSA where, for instance, you'll have single stack major loaded with 8 rounds, major power factor, single stack minor loaded with 10 rounds, minor power factor, and the 2 competing head-to-head with this kind of an equivalency formula to level the playing field. Major power's got more recoil, fewer rounds, but higher scoring value to the hits. Minor has higher capacity, lower recoil, lower point value, and the 2 are roughly equivalent. IDPA has gone down that road now with the revolver divisions. There's essentially a single revolver division that combines the previous 2 divisions, and they've tried to improve the equivalency by reducing the power factor for what had been enhanced service revolver, the old major power division, reducing the power factor to kind of rebalance the situation. So again, we're working with minor power factor 38 specials loaded with speed loaders versus, I'm expecting it's going to be the same 45 ACP revolvers, but with a new lower power factor that will, reduce the recoil and kind of make them more equivalent. That's the idea. So you essentially now have a single revolver division to accommodate both of the old revolver divisions, and I'm sure that will start some competition amongst the adherents of both as which is going to be better. It used to be that moon clip loading was thought to be so advantageous that the moon clip, that's why there was two separate divisions, that it was just, you couldn't use a speed loader as quickly as moon clips. We had to have two divisions to make it fair. I see guys using those spring-loaded speed loaders that inject the rounds into the cylinder. They're reloading very nearly as fast as the guys who are using the clips, and I think it became apparent that the disparity wasn't so much the reloading speed as firing major power versus minor power. So the two have been combined, single revolver division, and we'll see how competitive the two are. I mean, it's just like when anytime you've got two people with slightly different equipment going head-to-head, you're going to have the people thinking, well, my reloading speed or my accuracy. So for different people, it might be a different choice. And we'll just see how it goes. We still got the 4-inch barrel length and whatnot, but two divisions now combined into one revolver division. Now we have a new division, CCP Custom Carry Pistol. And this was an attempt, will be an ongoing attempt, to create a division that is essentially restricted to guns that are real carry guns. I think there's always been the sense that the rules in ESP, SSP, CDP have been geared towards if you want to win, you use the biggest gun that will fit in the box. And when you've got things like a CDP weight limit of 43 ounces, you're talking about a gun that is bigger and heavier than probably any gun that anybody would ever actually carry. But that's legal within the rules. And so to kind of rein it back and say we're going to create a division that's better suited for actual carry guns, CCP was developed. Now, CCP has already, for those who've seen the rule book and read the rules, has already been determined or described as ESP short. And the reason is that although there's a slight change in the maximum weight and the maximum dimensions, all the modifications that are allowed in ESP to the trigger, the sights, stippling, checkering, all that stuff that you can do in ESP division carries over into CCP division, as does the minimum power factor of 125, minimum caliber of 9mm. But what has changed is the capacity is now 8+1. So that allows a lot of single stack compact guns to compete head-to-head with the guns that are higher capacity that you're seeing, even if they will hold 15 or 17, they're loading 10+1 in ESP and SSP. In CCP, even if you're going to shoot the same gun, even if you're going to shoot your 4-inch, and we'll get to the dimensions, your 4-inch 9mm that you're currently shooting in SSP, you can shoot that in CCP, but downloaded to 8+1. Same thing with ESP. If you've got a 4-inch ESP gun, a lot of the modern plastic frame service pistols, the full-size gun has a 4-inch barrel already. So you're not going to have to shop for a compact gun. It just excludes the larger guns like the Glock 34 and Glock 35 and any of the larger guns that have become sort of competition specific. I mean, that's what it amounts to. People are, again, using the biggest guns that will fit in the box for ESP, SSP, CDP. So this will bring it down a little bit to guns that are more likely to be used for duty and carry use as opposed to this, guns that are kind of competition specific. I would quibble that the guns aren't small enough for that reason. If a gun that's currently legal in ESP is legal in ESP, why do we need another division for the same gun? But what you do get is competitiveness amongst compacts. So if you've got, say, a 4-inch 1911, you can shoot that in CCP. Because the 8-round capacity, the gun will only hold 8 rounds, doesn't put you at a competitive disadvantage to someone who's got a gun that will hold 10, and then you'd be competing 8 rounds versus 10 rounds in ESP. In the new CCP division, the playing field is leveled with the 8-round capacity limit. So that's where you're going to see, I think, the competitiveness is compact, single-stack type pistols, compact 1911s, versus probably larger mid-bore sized guns, Glock 19s, guns like that are downloaded to 8. So it's just a different place to play for the smaller, more compact guns as opposed to the larger guns that you're seeing in the other competitive divisions. So with the introduction of the new divisions, what we have is new boxes. Since day one, there's been an IDPA box into which guns that are to compete in ESP, SSP, and CDP must fit. And they limit the length, the height, and the depth. And with the introduction of CCP and the revised BUG rules, there's now multiple boxes. And depending on which division you're shooting, there's a different box, essentially, for each of the new divisions. So the original box is still in use for SSP, ESP, and CDP. There's a new box for CCP that limits the depth of the gun. So if you think of it in terms of how thick the gun is, this way, this is what's been limited by the depth of the box. The old dimension was 1 5/8. The new dimension is 1 3/8. And I don't think it's going to have much effect at all on kind of slick-sided guns that don't have safeties and slide stops on them, stuff like Glocks and M&Ps and XDs and all those guns. They're not going to have an issue. But where you are going to see an issue is 1911s that have ambidextrous safeties. I've measured at least 4 different guns with ambidextrous safeties of different configurations, and the only one that will fit in the 1 3/8 inch CCP or BUG box is the Wilson Tactical narrow safety. So the Ed Brown, the cylinder and slide, Wilson bar stock, the new Ed Brown bulletproof. No, that's Wilson. Ed Brown's got a new machine bar stock safety, STI, SVI. None of those will fit. They're all too wide. Now, of course, you can grind them down, and we'll get into that later. But 1 3/8 inch is just narrow enough that 1911 with factory ambies, as near as I can tell, other than the Wilson Combat Tactical, are not going to fit. Now, you also have also have reduced dimensions for BUG, both BUG Auto and BUG Revolver. Now, the big change in BUG is it's gone from being a 5-round division to a 6-round division. And I'm going to do another episode essentially devoted to BUG. But the change, of course, has been done in order that BUG can be integrated into a regular IDPA match. Prior, with a 5-round capacity, but the sport geared for a minimum of 6 rounds, BUGs were relegated to side stages or BUG-specific matches where you could set up the stages specifically for 5-round capacity, no on-the-clock reloads, and the things that made the BUG specific excluded it from being really allowed at a regular IDPA match that was geared for 6-round capacity. Well, BUG is now a 6-round division. And they've included more dimensions now in the rules. Instead of just having a short barrel, essentially, now we've got rules for barrel length and the height of the gun and the depth or width of the gun. So, for instance, and again, I'll get into it when I do go into BUG more in depth, and we'll do CCP more in depth as well. But for instance, the gun that I've been shooting in BUG Division for 15 years is no longer BUG legal. It's too wide because of the ambidextrous thumb safety, and it's 1 ounce too heavy because there's a new weight limit of 29 ounces. So there's been quite a shakeup. A lot of people, their BUG gun, if they're shooting something like an M&P Shield or a compact Glock or something, they're still going to be fine. The gun's going to be plenty small enough, plenty light enough. But if you're shooting something like this, you have to be concerned with the weight. If a gun of compact 1911 like this with an aluminum frame is certainly going to make the weight limit, and be concerned about your width of the ambi. But a compact gun like this with a steel frame is very possibly going to be too heavy. My Detonics Combat Master that I've blathered on about many times, it's a little bit shorter in this dimension and a little bit longer in this dimension. So it will fit in the box, but because it's all steel, it's too heavy. So we're going to do a series of episodes, I think, on Rick trying to get the darn Detonics BUG legal so he can shoot it at the BUG match that we're hosting at our club on May 30th. Now, what do you do about all these boxes? Do you have 4 different boxes? Do you have, what can you do? Well, here's essentially the current box situation. The outline in black is the current or historical dimension used for CDP, ESP, and SSP. And then the BUG divisions, the height is limited by this spacer that runs across the top that limits how tall the gun can be. Now, there's other requirements. For instance, in BUG you can use an extended magazine, but the magazine cannot extend more than 1 inch below the frame. So even if the gun will fit within this reduced dimension box, it still has to have the magazine no more than 1 inch longer than the frame. Likewise, in the CCP division, you're dealing with a depth, shallower depth of the box, but even if it will fit in here, the barrel cannot be longer than 4.1 inches. So the box isn't the be-all, end-all, but it gives you the basic dimensions. For instance, you've got BUG. I've got this labeled BUG S and BUG R. BUG S is BUG semi-auto. BUG R is BUG revolver. So if you've got a semi-auto BUG, it needs to fit inside the red BUG S box. Now, as you can see, this Kimber, let me get it out here, just does fit inside the box. It's just fine. Now, if you've got a 3-inch revolver, you're allowed to extend out to here and still be legal. And of course, it can't extend outside the dimensions of the box. So what we did at our club, and I'm sure a lot of clubs are going to follow suit, is created a specific box. We've built it. It's not an IDPA supplied or even approved, but we've measured it, and it does fit. It does comply. And its external dimensions, or the major dimensions, are those of the original traditional IDPA box. Then there are removable spacers that you can put in the box for the other divisions. So there's a panel that fits down into the base of the box to limit the gun's width. Then there's a spacer that runs along the top of the box to limit the height. So it's just a little narrow spacer that you can plug into the box here for the BUG divisions. And then there's a spacer that you can plug in here for BUG auto, take it out for BUG revolver, and then you can just and then there's a little key. That's the other thing. It's color coded. There's a little key attached to the box, so you know, okay, I want to measure a revolver, BUG revolver, so I put the red or blue, spacer in there. And then if I want to measure CCP, I put the blue spacer in the bottom, and so you've got a little key, so you know which spacers to put in for which division. But you can store all the spacers in the box, keep it in one place. And I'm sure a lot of clubs are going to be doing that, but it's just an example of how we've addressed the new 4 boxes versus 1 box for IDPA dimensional certification.